G'day, friends and fans. Welcome to Dave Talks Off Ukraine War Update for the 9th of April 2026. I'm your host, the author, David Applegate, and I will continue to bring you my unbiased opinion on the Ukrainian crisis, as it is now more and more being referred to. And as JD Vance said, this crisis can be averted. Could have been averted, but for now we're going to focus on resolution, and the resolution comes down to a small piece of land. Well, Ukraine doesn't want. We all know that Ukraine doesn't want to give it up, and the Russians won't retreat. But if we can get a border, if we can get a agreed an agreed demilitarized zone, and agreed to restore the pipelines, and this is another thing Ukraine won't do, and eventually Russia will replace those pipelines, abandon them, and go with the Turk Stream. But Europe doesn't want this. Europe can't handle this. They can't. So it's not just the United States. It's Europe as well. There are those, as you know, the Democrats. They don't want this war over. They want to black eye Trump. They want the Europes don't want this war over. They want to black eye Trump. Zelensky doesn't want this war over because the money will stop flowing, and unless he's got his billions for rebuilding and his UN or EU job first. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Yeah, this is the systemic corruption. What it looks like. Where politicians have no incentive to do the right thing because there's no repercussions. The Ukrainian people have no say, no power. The parliament just continues on without an election. So, Chernihiv was hit by a missile. We don't know to what extent. Most of the time you'll wait months before you see the release, like 5 months before we found out about the attack on the Ukrainian airbase, and turned out, Russia incinerated an F-16 on the ground, but Zelensky doesn't want to admit that. Well, so we have Kharkiv. Now this is just a drone spotted. Now we have fighting on the border. And we have fighting in Kharkiv. We have now, according to Ukraine, if you look at the map. Oh wait, what? Where is it? Can we see it? I could see it on the Russian map. So it's about, okay. None of the towns are lining up, but wait, Kapansky. All right, 1, 2. All right. The Ukrainian army has been pushed back to here. According to both the we have Deep State Map Live, we have the Sputnik map, and the live map, all not, they used to be very in line with each other. Okay. The Russians control this. They've advanced in this little area here, according to Deep State Map. Now, most of the other battlefield there's been hardly any change. Now, I've seen this happen before where Russia's taken a town and Ukraine's taken it off their map and left it like that for months. Remember when Lyman was missing from the map? Alright, so there's been a little bit of advance in It's not much of an advance. And they're still fighting. And they're still fighting. And they're still fighting. And we go down to here, and there's been an advance down in here as well. Russia's almost taken all of Prevalence now. There is this narrow strip here that is half the town and fields. I think the map has Prevalence up to here. All of this, Shalushki went without being talked about. But the Russians are on this road, firing on the Ukrainian positions. Here, block fighting, but no one knows exactly where the Russian position is. So same here. The Russians seem to be fighting to hold back. Ukrainians want to retake this bridge because once it falls, this town is these crossings. So the Ukrainians here are stuck. If they're overwhelmed from the rear, they're done for. But right now they're trying to push towards Kostanivka, but Ivaninkia is in the way. Half of Stefanovia has again, this map is in disagreement with other maps. But as we go through the rest of the map, it seems to be pretty straightforward, pretty standard. Russia's made little progress, and only in a few places on the map. Ukraine's made zero progress. No Ukrainian counterattack, no Ukrainian drone swarm, unsuccessful. Only one target was hit north of Moscow. The war takes its toll on the truth. You heard the other day about the F-15 shot down. Russia's meet the missile responsible. This is a lock on and forget. Yes, Russia is learning from technology the West abandoned in Afghanistan. This is a faster, higher flying missile than previous, shoulder launched. Now, why is there a discrepancy between the payload, 2.6 and 5 kilograms of power? Well, again, it's likely because there's two models, one a smaller warhead and one a larger warhead. And the larger warhead is probably the one responsible for the getting the F-15 at a higher altitude. The smaller one is probably what you're seeing, the little man-portable thing. That's for drones. We'll see whether or not this makes a difference. Well, we've seen guns make a difference, but not much. Again, it's because you've got to have the gun in the way of the drone. And we're dealing with drone swarms, meaning they shoot down. It's a duck shoot. They get some get through. With a proper duck shoot, you need more layers. Russia is advancing a little too fast for it. And that's why I think they've slowed down their advance, is to bring up more defenses. And this missile is going to deal with the bigger drones, and they're going to have to bring up more guns to deal with the smaller drones. And start getting more of their own drones in operation, or, again, I don't want to see a Russian victory, I don't want to see a Russian loss. You don't want it either. If Russia loses this, you are going to see hell. Okay, they will become bitter, sore losers, just like the communist days. They will wreck Ukraine on their way out. They will devastate the country. They'll pull millions of the population out. Ukraine will be a festering, poverty-stricken pus hole, which it already is, but I mean, it has no chance of getting out of that hole. It's put itself in a hole. And it has its chip on the shoulder which it just can't get out of its way because I had to puff up my chest or the girl won't like me. You know. When you drop the attitude, Zelensky, you know where to find me. I'm not threatening him, and I don't want him to threaten me. I want him to be... I actually think there's actually a real man underneath that clown suit. I think there's a man who's desperate to for approval. And I think he has to drop being I think he has to drop the act. He's not a Jew. He's a cultural Jew. He has to drop the act. Okay? He's a Jewish man in a Christian country. He wants to turn it into a Jewish country, and he's not going to get far in life. And, you know, he's got bad friends, bad acquaintances, and an ambition thrust upon him because he's an agent of the deep state. Literally, their map website is called Deep State. All right, so the Russian Army advanced surface air missile. There's the larger model. There's the larger launcher. There it is on the large launcher. Devastating. And, yeah. There's actually more than one. Okay, so there is more than one. So there's the two. There's the big one. So this is a replacement, I believe, for the SA6 through to the SA28. Or what? So these will be...
First, you paste in your...
Gosh, I hate when ads unmute themselves. There you go. Yeah, Sheila. That's the Sheila series. SA6 all the way through SA38. I think this is the new designation, SA32. It has been, again, you know, this is the BLLT. This is the workhorse of the Soviet Union. It's known as the Iron Tractor in some parts, or just merely the Tank Tractor. It's got a few names. In Ukraine, they call it the Tractor. This is the tractor that towed the Russian tank. It wasn't a farm tractor, but no. It's a this is predominantly was to tow big guns, but they've put a bigger engine in it for towing tanks. They've put a tank motor in most of them now, instead of the standard diesel. What's the difference? Diesel tank engine. Okay. Just a two-man crew. Sometimes there's a third man in there. So, yeah. Pretty much, these are standalone tracked vehicles. Yeah, the Russian designation is still at 10 M3. So, I think the Western designation SA28 was for the Stella 10, and 32 is for the M3. Now, it carries camouflage packs, and it does have new integrated componentry. Now, what that all means is that these do not work alone. Okay, so... And there's the third hatch for the commander. Or the missile operator, I should say. But, yeah, there's the 2 by 2. But... helicopters or even Su-25 or equivalent, so Warthogs, the missile designation 9M333, that's the big one. It's believed that was the one responsible for shooting down the F-15. By the way, I do believe it got blown up, the launcher. That's what it looks like from the battlefield. As I said, they are integrated. They don't work as standalone equipment. And they do use drones, and they are designed to shoot down drones. It's weird, I know, but they use early warning systems. And with a seeking of up to 10 kilometers away, that gives it quite the edge on the battlefield. Because... yeah, that means you could pre-launch from over the horizon, up, as they come up, and they missed. And so while they're scanning the ground for a launch, the missile's already in the air above them, coming down. That's the biggest killer of aircraft in Vietnam, was the missile already in the air, not the one on the ground. Yeah. And yeah, you have your D rocket pack, you have your C cell, and then you have your electronics, seekers, maneuvering, your battery pack. Pretty much assembled like a kid's remote control plane. Ploink, ploink, ploink. And away it goes. Now, Russia plans to increase its unmanned systems force, but we already knew that. Last year, Russia made a big video and showed everybody the new drone in school. Opened their third rocket forces school. They've opened their third there. New air base, which was actually one of their old bases, but it's been reopened after damage. The damaged aircraft have been replaced or repaired. Three were damaged beyond repair, and so they replaced one. So but they're all so you destroyed a couple of Tupolev 22s, and they're being replaced with a couple of Tupolev 160s. So yeah, all you did was retire aircraft early. Still, it was an expense, but at the expense of Ukraine suffering, 1 million casualties allegedly. Ukraine's paid the price of Ukraine's folly, and the West doesn't want to talk about the Donbass war. But Russian drone forces increasingly, and I think that's another thing slowing down the war, is the training of training. Some of the troops have been mobilised for 4 months, and more to come. 101,000 expanding already, and it's expanding by the end of this year. So yeah, since December, Ukraine has noticed the number of unmanned units on the Russian side increasingly. And Ukraine, of course, has been increasing theirs as a matter of necessity. But as I said, Ukraine's only strength now is to slow down the Russians so much, to hold them out. And if they can hold them off Karaminskaya for another, month maybe? As I said, 6 months. And you should be able to grind this war out. And when Russia's hoping that its new weapon systems will get back the momentum, back to one village a month, a week, or they were at a day at one point. This is what happens. You overachieve. The overachievers go away and you get different momentum. So, yeah. That's why you should never overachieve, never overextend. And they did. And they're trying to get that back, but they just can't. Because the people who did it are either dead or retired or or burnt out. So Ukraine's air defences have downed 99 drones, 16 reached targets, and again they didn't mark off 16 targets on the map or tell us which 16 targets. That's standard practice for Ukraine, by the way. There's no point in reading the article. Now, Hungary has said this every day to any and every diplomat. It's nothing new. However, the Vice President there has taken it seriously and has let everyone know that we're talking haggling at this point over a few square kilometres of territory in one direction or another. Where would that be? Let's see. Where is Russia haggling? Would you like to bet it's Klashchikovia, Zaporozhye, right? Seversk, Lyman, Kupiansk. maybe in a few other areas. But let's see. Let's say they were willing to give up some of this down here, right? Slice it off. So, smooth line, which would take the pressure off Kerpiads completely, right? Come down here. Try not to cut towns in half. So, it would be probably cutting through here, taking the pressure off linemen. Coming through here, cutting this off. Probably a little bit at Chavez Yar they don't want to give up. And get the Russians to retreat from Klobovitskaya, which is going to be hard. And then as we come round, there isn't much. It's still not much. And it's not really giving up any towns. But when it comes to Haggling, we know what's happened. Russia says we'll give up this 40 square kilometres, and Russia says, Ukraine says, sure. What are you going to do? And what about the rest? And that's the same question over again. What about the rest? What about the rest? We hear it in every speech he gives if you decide to listen to his speeches. And I mean not the speeches he gives in London or Paris or Berlin or Brussels. I mean the speeches he gives in Ukraine. Unfortunately, most, of course, are in Ukrainian and most aren't translated. But Google sometimes automatically translates some of their documents anyway, and you can listen to it. You got to wait about 24, 48 hours. And I'll see if I find one, because often Ukraine takes them down after they're translated. They don't want people to know what their plans are. Now, Ukrainian, and this is a problem, I can't play you the videos because they're copyrighted. So what's the point? Well, I can show you where they are, I suppose. Ukrainian drones have targeted key oil hubs and they're all US linked. The Russian Defense Ministry has pointed out that the port of Novorossiysk is operated by a jointly owned US corporation. Now, there are some European partners in this as well and other countries, but it's Chevron and ExxonMobil. Now, it's not a large amount of oil, but it's still deliberately attacking US assets. So, by a so-called friend, thinking, and this again, Europe wants you to call out Israel, but Europe won't allow you to call out Ukraine or Zelensky, or do anything to Zelensky. Man, promise you won't hurt Zelensky. It's like, yeah. So he's chum-chums with Keir Starmer and his handlers from the WEF. BlackRock. Yes, I know everybody's going to say Mo's sad. Yes, Mo is very sad indeed. Alright, so the Russian forces have struck in retaliation for the attack of second attack on Novorossiysk. Russian forces have struck a Ukrainian port. They struck fuel, port infrastructure, and believed to have also burnt down a warehouse. Ukraine, of course, says it was empty. I've checked. There doesn't seem to be anything that shows whether or not it was empty or not. But it's stock. A lot of the articles on the fire in Odessa today is stock photos from previous fires. So you don't learn anything new from showing those anyway. And again, with the losses, you only have estimates on both sides. But Russia seems, every time Russia estimates around 1,000 dead Ukrainians, Ukraine seems to post the next day, we killed this many. So there's this tit-for-tat psychological warfare going on in which no one is telling the truth. Why? The truth's the first casualty of war. So that's the state of the Ukraine war. Russia's gained a small foothold towards Krasnoyarsk, finishing off the Donetsk, long way to finish off Donetsk, which I don't think they're going to achieve, before Trump starts to bring down the hammer, economically, of course. And the pressure is on by China, apparently. Latest news is that China is losing millions per day in lost revenue in Ukraine from their motor factories and their the loss of assets in Ukraine, which will never be able to be replaced. They've lost assets in Uganda and other countries with riots and looting. We've seen today more trouble in Angola. We've seen Russian assets in the Middle East attacked by Iran, Russian assets in Iran, Russian and Chinese assets in Iran, looted by Iranians, apparently, food shortages there. A lot of the foreign assets of China and Russia seem to be supermarkets, I guess food and food exports and clothing exports. But Chinese factories are suffering. Apparently, they've lost millions in because they rely so much on Iran and Venezuela for resources. And Iran is now actually excited about the US offer to lose the world market. And this is why people are saying, Trump's plan is economically benefiting Iran. Yes, that's the point. Give up your nuclear program and we'll take away your sanctions. That's the point, right? And Iran is seriously now considering giving up its nuclear program because it gets what it needs right now, and that's to fix its economy. And they think, well, we can outlast Trump and we'll get back to the business as usual in 10 years' time. Which is why they've always had so much friction, because the Europeans have let them... Because Europeans, more than America, doesn't want problems fixed, because Iran's nuclear program's like the boogeyman, right? They keep getting to a certain point, then they blow it up or buy it off them, and then Iran just does it over and over again. This is the nuclear blackmail that Ukraine was engaged in, although Ukraine gave up all its nukes and now wants to get back into wants to find a way to get permanent welfare, because it's the only way their economy can survive, which it shouldn't. But again, that's because the billionaires and Chinese have looted Ukraine, looted Iran, Venezuela. So, I think if we could get, and I could see the economic argument that if Poland, Romania, and Estonia do get to go in to fix the Ukraine economy, that might actually be a good thing, because Ukraine will only do so if it gets to be in the EU. Again, it should be a process, not an immediate ascension. I think it should bypass Zelensky as punishment for destroying Ukraine. I think Ukraine should keep its borders closed for some time and allow the reconstruction and the healing, and get this buffer zone between the two nations. So, these obelisks, that's all it needs. It's a couple of obelisks. You don't need military. You don't need military on Russia's border. That's just provocative. That's pointless. It's all posturing. It's all about the money. And once the population's patience run out, which I think it is, once Europe has realised that it's bleeding too much and Keir Starmer's out of office, this is the problem. They keep promising to topple Keir Starmer, but nobody wants to agree how, because the Greens want to topple Starmer to be in, to take his seat. You know, everybody's just doing it for everybody's sake instead of a general election. So thank you all for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Please support the channel. You support me in a number of ways. Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy me merch. All my links are in the link tree. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Bye.